Elena Rodriguez clipped her contractor badge to her khaki uniform and walked across the dusty range at Fort Bragg. The inter-service marksmanship competition buzzed with activity as Army, Navy, and Air Force teams prepared their equipment. As a civilian safety officer, she was supposed to observe and ensure protocols, nothing more. Staff Sergeant Mitchell from the Army sniper team glanced at her badge and smirked. Just another contractor who thinks she knows rifles, he thought. When Elena approached their station, she noticed their M40 A5 scope settings looked off for the morning conditions. "Excuse me, Sergeant," she said politely. "With this crosswind at 8 miles per hour from the northeast, you might want to adjust your windage 2 clicks right for the 800-meter targets." Mitchell laughed and turned to his spotter. "Hey, Johnson, the safety lady thinks she knows ballistics." "Tell me, Miss Rodriguez," he said, reading her name tag, "do you even know what MOA stands for?" Elena kept her voice steady. "Minute of angle. 1 MOA equals approximately 1 inch at 100 yards, scaling proportionally with distance." The other snipers gathered around, sensing entertainment. Corporal Davis joined in. "I bet she thinks she can calculate milled-out ranges too. These contractors read one manual and think they are experts." Elena pulled out her Kestrel weather meter and checked the atmospheric conditions. The device showed humidity at 62%, temperature at 74 degrees, and barometric pressure dropping. These factors would affect bullet trajectory at longer ranges, but she knew the Army team would dismiss her input. Mitchell watched her with the weather meter and rolled his eyes. "Look at this, guys. She has all the fancy gadgets. I suppose you think that little computer makes you a ballistics expert." Elena glanced at their setup again. Their rifle was zeroed for standard conditions, but they had not adjusted for the current atmospheric density. For precision shots beyond 600 meters, these environmental factors could mean the difference between a hit and a miss. "Actually, Sergeant, atmospheric pressure affects bullet flight. At this elevation with dropping pressure, your rounds will impact approximately 2 inches high at 800 meters without compensation." Davis laughed and nudged his teammate. 2 inches high. She probably thinks we should recalibrate our entire zero because her little weather station says so. The range master, a gruff Army colonel, walked over to see what the commotion was about. Mitchell quickly straightened up. "Just having a discussion about ballistics with our safety contractors, sir." Colonel Harrison surveyed the range with a stern expression. "What seems to be the issue here, Staff Sergeant Mitchell?" "Just discussing technical aspects with Miss Rodriguez, sir. She thinks our rifle setup needs adjusting based on weather conditions." The colonel glanced at Elena, then back at Mitchell. "Is there a problem with the contractor performing her safety duties?" Mitchell exchanged looks with his team. "No, sir, but she keeps interrupting our preparation with suggestions about ballistics calculations and environmental factors. We have been doing this for years." Elena remained silent, knowing any response would escalate the situation. She had seen this attitude before, experienced snipers who relied on basic training without understanding advanced ballistics theory. Davis stepped forward. "Sir, she claims atmospheric pressure will change our point of impact by 2 inches at 800 meters. We think she might be overstepping her role as safety personnel." The colonel nodded slowly. "Miss Rodriguez, your job is to ensure range safety protocols, not to provide tactical advice to my snipers. These men are trained professionals." Elena felt the familiar sting of dismissal. "Yes, sir, understood. I will focus on safety procedures only." Mitchell grinned as the colonel walked away. "See, lady, stay in your lane." The afternoon brought unexpected drama when a priority message crackled over the range radio. "All stations, this is range control. We have a code red training scenario activation. Hostile target simulation at 1,200 meters, grid Alpha 7. Single precision shot required for mission success." Colonel Harrison grabbed his radio. "Roger, range control. What are the parameters?" "Target is approximately 18 inches square, elevated position behind cover. Wind conditions variable, gusting to 15 miles per hour. Time constraint, 10 minutes maximum before scenario failure." Elena watched as the Army team scrambled to adjust their equipment for the extended range. She knew immediately they were in trouble. The M40A5 was capable of the distance, but the environmental conditions would require precise calculations that went beyond their standard training. Mitchell checked his scope settings and called out to his spotter. "Johnson, what is our dope for 1,200 meters?" Johnson flipped through his data book frantically. Standard chart shows 28 clicks up from our 800-meter zero, but these wind conditions are tricky. Elena noticed they were using basic field calculations without accounting for the Coriolis effect or the temperature differential that had developed since morning. At 1,200 meters, these factors would cause significant trajectory deviation. Mitchell took his position behind the M40A5 and adjusted the scope based on Johnson's calculations. The first shot cracked across the range, but the spotter called out miss. High and right, approximately 6 inches. Elena bit her tongue as she watched them make the same mistake she had predicted. They were not accounting for the spin drift that affected bullets at extreme range, nor the decreasing atmospheric pressure that would lift the trajectory higher than expected. Johnson made quick adjustments. Come down 4 clicks and left 2. The second shot missed again, this time low and still right. Mitchell cursed under his breath and looked at his data book with confusion. This does not make sense. Our calculations should be accurate. Colonel Harrison approached with obvious concern. Staff Sergeant, we have 7 minutes remaining. What is the issue? Sir, the environmental conditions are more complex than our standard calculations account for. The wind is gusting irregularly, and something is throwing off our trajectory predictions. Elena watched the team struggle with growing frustration. She knew exactly what was wrong. At 1,200 meters, the bullet flight time exceeded 2 seconds, allowing wind variations to affect different portions of the trajectory. They needed to calculate for average wind conditions across the entire flight path, not just at the firing position. Elena could not stay silent any longer as she watched the third shot miss wide left. Sir, if I may, the wind is creating a layered effect. You need to calculate for the average wind speed across the entire bullet flight path, not just the conditions at the firing line. Colonel Harrison turned sharply. Miss Rodriguez, I thought we established your role here. With respect, sir, they're missing a critical calculation. At 1,200 meters with a 2.3-second flight time, the Coriolis effect will drift the bullet approximately 4 inches right. They also need to account for the temperature gradient that has developed since this morning. Mitchell looked up from his scope with irritation. Lady, we appreciate your concern, but we know what we are doing. Elena pulled out her calculator and quickly ran the numbers. Your current zero assumes 68 degrees, but the temperature has risen to 76 degrees. That 8-degree increase will reduce your bullet drop by approximately 3 inches at this range. Davis shook his head dismissively. She thinks she can solve our problem with a pocket calculator while we have military-grade ballistics computers. Time was running out. 5 minutes remained, and the scenario would fail if they could not neutralize the target. Elena knew her calculations were correct, but protocol prevented her from taking action. The fourth shot sailed over the target completely. Colonel Harrison's face darkened as the radio crackled with an update. 3 minutes remaining before scenario failure. Mitchell threw his hands up in frustration. I do not understand what is happening. Our equipment is zeroed perfectly. Elena stepped forward despite the protocol violations. Colonel, with your permission, I believe I can make this shot. The calculations require compensation for multiple environmental factors that are not in their standard field manual. You're a civilian contractor, Miss Rodriguez. This is not your area of responsibility. Sir, the mission is failing. Someone needs to take this shot, and I know exactly what adjustments are required. Colonel Harrison looked at his watch. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Mitchell, can you make this shot? Honestly, sir, I am not confident. Something is throwing off our calculations that we cannot identify. Elena moved toward the rifle. I need to adjust for Coriolis effect, temperature differential, spin drift, and calculate the average wind vector across the entire flight path. The current scope setting is approximately 7 clicks off in elevation and 3 clicks off in windage. Mitchell reluctantly stepped aside. Fine, but when you miss, do not blame our equipment. Elena settled behind the M40A5 and began making precise scope adjustments with steady hands. Elena adjusted the scope with practiced precision. 7 clicks up to compensate for the temperature increase and atmospheric pressure drop. 3 clicks left to account for the Coriolis effect and spin drift working together at this range. She checked her Kestrel one final time, noting the wind had steadied at 12 miles per hour from the northeast. The Army team watched skeptically as she made calculations in her head without consulting any charts or computers. Her breathing controlled, she settled into the proper shooting position with textbook Marine form. Johnson whispered to Davis, "Look at her position. She actually knows what she is doing." Elena's finger found the trigger as she began her breathing cycle. In through the nose, partial exhale, natural respiratory pause. The crosshairs settled on the target with rock-steady precision. The shot broke clean. The distinctive crack of the M40A5 echoed across the range, followed by an immediate radio response from the target observer downrange. Range control, this is target observer. Direct hit, center mass. Mission accomplished. Complete silence fell over the firing line. Mitchell stared at Elena in disbelief while she safely cleared the rifle and engaged the safety. Colonel Harrison checked his watch. 1 minute and 47 seconds remaining. "How did you?" Mitchell started to ask, then stopped himself. A black staff car pulled up to the firing line just as Elena finished securing the M40A5. A Marine general stepped out, his uniform bearing the 3 stars of a lieutenant general. The entire range snapped to attention as he approached. "At ease," he called out, walking directly toward Elena. His weathered face showed recognition as he studied her shooting stance and rifle handling procedures. "Miss Rodriguez," the general said, reading her name tag. "That was an impressive demonstration of marksmanship. Where did you learn to shoot like that?" Elena straightened but remained professional. "Sir, I learned precision shooting in the Marines." Colonel Harrison looked confused. "General Morrison, this is our civilian safety contractor. She just made an impossible shot at 1,200 meters. General Morrison smiled slightly. "Impossible for most people, Colonel, but not for someone trained at the Scout Sniper School. Tell me, Miss Rodriguez, what class were you?" Elena hesitated, then answered. "Class 215, sir. I was an instructor there for 3 years." The general nodded knowingly. "I thought I recognized those fundamentals. Perfect breathing control, textbook trigger press, and those ballistics calculations were spot on." Mitchell and his team exchanged shocked glances. An instructor at Scout Sniper School was far beyond their level of training and expertise. General Morrison turned to Colonel Harrison with a serious expression. "Colonel, I need to clarify something about Miss Rodriguez. She is not just any former Marine. She holds the record for longest confirmed kill shot by a female Marine sniper at 1,847 meters in Afghanistan." The color drained from Mitchell's face as he realized the magnitude of his dismissive attitude. Elena Rodriguez was a legend in the precision shooting community, someone whose techniques were studied in advanced marksmanship courses. Furthermore, General Morrison continued, "She wrote the current environmental compensation manual that your snipers should be using for extended range calculations. The manual they apparently have not been following properly." Elena remained at attention, uncomfortable with the attention but maintaining her professional bearing. Colonel Harrison struggled to process this information while the Army team stood in stunned silence. "Sir," Davis finally managed to speak, "we had no idea about her background." "That is precisely the problem, Corporal," the general replied firmly. "You judge capability based on appearance and current job title rather than actual expertise. Miss Rodriguez could teach every sniper on this range advanced ballistics theory." Johnson whispered to Mitchell, "We questioned someone who literally wrote the book on long-range shooting." The general heard the comment and nodded. "Exactly right, soldier." General Morrison pulled out his cell phone and made a quick call. "Yes, this is General Morrison. I need you to verify the service record for Elena Rodriguez, former Scout Sniper instructor. Send me her complete file." Within minutes, his phone buzzed with the information. He read silently, then looked up at the assembled group. Marines Corps Cross for Valor, Bronze Star with V device, 3 Purple Hearts, and Distinguished Marksman Badge. She served 4 combat deployments and trained over 200 Marine snipers. Colonel Harrison stepped forward. General, I owe Miss Rodriguez a formal apology. We failed to properly utilize her expertise. Elena finally spoke. Sir, the important thing is the mission was completed successfully. These Marines just need proper training on advanced environmental factors. Mitchell approached Elena directly. Ma'am, I was completely out of line. Would you be willing to show us the correct calculations you used for that shot? Elena nodded professionally. The key is understanding that at extended range, you cannot rely on basic field calculations. Temperature gradients, Coriolis effect, and variable wind conditions across the bullet flight path all require precise mathematical compensation. Davis pulled out his notebook. Could you walk us through the specific numbers you used? General Morrison smiled approvingly. That is exactly the attitude I want to see from our service members. General Morrison addressed the entire group as Elena finished explaining her ballistics calculations to the Army team. Miss Rodriguez, I have a proposition for you. The Inter-Service Precision Marksmanship Program needs a lead instructor who can teach advanced environmental compensation to all branches. Elena considered the offer carefully. Sir, I would be honored to contribute to improving marksmanship standards across the services. Colonel Harrison nodded in agreement. General, after witnessing her capabilities today, I fully support that assignment. Our snipers clearly need this level of advanced training. Mitchell stepped forward with genuine respect. Ma'am, I hope you will accept the position. We all learned something important today about not judging expertise by appearance. The general smiled. Excellent. Miss Rodriguez, you will develop curriculum for extended-range precision shooting that incorporates real-world environmental factors. Your manual will become standard training material for all military branches. Elena felt a sense of satisfaction as she looked at the M40A51 final time. The rifle that had been dismissed as just another weapon in inexperienced hands had proven the importance of technical expertise over assumptions. Johnson spoke for the entire Army team. We're grateful for the lesson, Instructor Rodriguez. The title felt right. After years of being underestimated, Elena Rodriguez had found her place teaching the next generation of military snipers the precision skills that could save lives.